Hey everybody, James here from Wargames Illustrated, and in this video I am going to take a little flip through a new book from Valhalla Games. This is their first campaign supplement that they've released, and it's called The Battle for Primosole Bridge. It's a system agnostic book, so you can apply what's within here to your preferred World War II battle game, and it looks at the Sicily campaign, specifically the Battle for Primosole Bridge, which was kind of a prelude to what would happen at Arnhem and maybe had some similar events. Now, Valhalla Games are a team of two brothers, Dan and Rex Withers, and although this is a very professional looking product, as you can see as I start to flip through it here, they're not a professional team really. They've got some YouTube stuff, they've got some podcast things going on, but this is really a passion project. And that's largely why I wanted to show it. As you can see, it looks great. It's got 106 pages overall, the format's very large, it's well printed, it's full colour, and there's some eye candy already just as we go through the introduction and the background. But then you get to the campaign element, and this is the meat of the book. It's made up of 11 scenarios, and they're all interconnected. The events of whatever scenario you play will to some extent affect what happens next. But there are some rules here for if you don't do too well, how you play on. So you're not going to lose the campaign in the first few battles or anything like that. Visually, the book is just awesome. Not only are the maps really useful and practically good, such as this one, which is showing the overall campaign and where the different battles take place, but it's got historical flair. This is actually a map from a British airborne commander, complete with creases and little grime bits, and then the brothers have used that and layered on their campaign details over the top. And as you can see as we flip across to the first scenario, Marston Tonight, the actual maps are really good for each of the scenarios individually as well. Not only that, but there's some really nice photographs, very high quality stuff, and often those photographs represent some of the special rules for the scenarios. In this battle where the airborne have kind of landed, not sure who's coming, there's some stuff about silhouettes, so you're never sure who it might be who's approaching. Things move on from Marston Tonight to Scatter to the Four Winds, which has scattered deployment to represent the airborne trying to come back together, and in this game they will meet up with the Fallschirmjäger, and that's some elite Germans who you've got to do combat with. And then this game follows on to the next scenario, which is to the RV chaps, which means that you'll need to manage your casualties on both sides from the previous game in order to have a better chance in this one. The board also flows on, so you're using roughly the same terrain for a lot of these battles. There's basically a big bridge, a big hill, and the surrounding areas. And about that bridge, scenario 4, seize the bridge. So onto Primosole Bridge, and here you meet the Italian defenders. Again, just adding extra depth as you go through the campaign. From the assault on the bridge, we move to the assault on Johnny 1. This is a really impressive looking board, made for the book. Don't worry if this all looks a bit intimidating, as you'll see later on. There's a great guide for how to do something similar yourself, but let's focus on the scenario for now. This has some hidden cave deployment where the Italians are dug in, but what's really great about this is there's also a QR code you can scan, and by doing that, you'll get to go to YouTube and watch a video of the brothers playing the battle themselves. As with quite a lot of the scenarios, Scenario 6, Storming Eagle's Attack, is a follow-on from that previous fight, and it has culminating, escalating events which build up more danger as the battle goes on. So you'll place an event shit into the bag along with all the other things you draw to see how the game progresses, and per turn when that's drawn, it will result on different things happening. Mortar fire coming in, wireless is getting fixed so you can call in objectives and stuff, and it just adds a lot of character to your gaming. From there, it's back to the bridge, and the next few scenarios see the sides fighting back and forth to try and reclaim that objective. So that goes through Stangberg's Folly, the Daring Ones, and Keep the Barbarians Back, which also has a QR code. How you've done in previous battles will determine a little bit how easy those missions are for you to take part in and complete. And The battle around the bridge sees the Germans, the elites, coming back, so things really hot up. And then we're not leaving the bridge for the final few scenarios, which is the attack of the DLI. That's the Durham Light Infantry, who came along to add some much needed assistance. They also brought some tanks with them too. And then the final scenario is the final assault. Through the scenarios now, and on to theatre selectors and new units, and with you hopefully feeling quite inspired by what's gone before and some of the great eye candy, here's where you can see what units you can use for the different scenarios, and you've also got some special rules for whatever game system it is you might like to play. I think the unit tables used here are really cool. They look very professional, they've got a great little colour key going through them showing you what you can use in each scenario for the different nations involved. That's something that gets a big thumbs up from me. There's also a couple of new units. There's a British ad hoc airborne squad. They're useful for when you kind of scatter to the winds in the early scenarios. And there's a German Fallschirm Funk Company squad. We like to think of ourselves as a bit of a fun company at Wargames Illustrated, but no, these guys are actually about communication, and they are a little extra addition for your Germans on the tabletop. Through that, we're into the Quartermaster's store, and this is really just a flavourful way that the book addresses all the game-relevant things that you might use in the scenarios, puts them all in here, and refers to them throughout the different bits earlier on in the book. And from there, it's into the hobby content, the way that the brothers have created the awesome-looking boards and terrain pieces that you see throughout the book. They start off with a little bit of their ethos for how to make gaming tables and the different levels that you can kind of create to make things look really good. And then they really get into it with a big deep dive on the two impressive boards. Johnny One, which has all sorts of different stuff to recommend it, how to do different hills, techniques for that. But also a really great anatomy of the board that gives credit to all the different manufacturers of specific parts. And then there's the bridge itself, which also looks outstanding and has some really good tips there too. There's not a lot on painting the figures, just a very brief look to finish things off, but there are QR codes so you can actually go online and you can watch a full painting video, which is probably as useful, if not more useful, than reading about it in a book. Things end with a run through of some of the manufacturers' figures that are featured in the book, and some thanks and credits. And that's it. A really, really great book if it had been made by a big professional team, but the fact that this is the passion project of a small collective of gamers just makes it outstanding, and we can't recommend this enough. We really want everyone to go out and buy it and help the brothers do more like this in the future. We're guessing that quite a lot of time and effort went into making this, so we're not necessarily expecting Campaign Book 2 to come anytime particularly soon, but we're very excited to see it when it does.
This video has been brought to you by WiPrime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WiPrime by following these links.